Hello and welcome to a brand new video on education, which is an AQA topic for Sociology, AS and A-level. There's a whole paper, one for both AS and A2, so it's very important to get the content right on this because it weighs a lot of marks. And it's the most difficult compared to the family and households paper and research method paper. So let's begin by looking at the key perspectives of education. Education has various different perspectives. These perspectives include Marxists, Functionalists, and Feminists. There are much more of them, so if you want to pause and have a think and comment what other perspectives do you think may be included, please let me know. So let's begin by looking at the Functionalist perspective. So Functionalist Durkheim argues that education provides us with specialist skills like basic literacy and numeracy skills. This is further supported by vocational educational qualifications. You can have possible criticisms for this, which I'll be looking at in my later videos, so stay tuned on them. And also, Durkheim argues that education provides us with social solidarity, which is simply togetherness. And can you think of examples where social solidarity can be seen within your school environment? Pause and have a think. Let me reveal. Social solidarity within your school can be seen through your school logo, which can be seen within your uniform. On the crest, there's the logo of the school, or even the school motto. Every school has like a motto. Just like Tesco has every little helps, maybe your schools have some sort of motto like that which represents themselves. So that's a way in which it provides social solidarity. So it's good to put in real life examples because it helps you and shows probably even the examiner how you are linking the sociologist theory to a real life example. So this can be very, very helpful too. So again, we'll look at the functionalist perspective of Davis and Moore. Let me just, one more thing I forgot to tell you is that I'm really trying to summarize this so that's easier to remember. I'm not missing out any details, so I'm just trying to make it as succinct as possible. Okay, so the functionalists, Davis and Moore, they argue that the function of education is to sift and sort us so that we are ready for work. Ruman further supports this and argues that this form of stratification encourages us to actually do well within the educational system. Bowles and Gints argues that the middle class are to do well. What do you think the dash is? Pause and have a think. Let me reveal, the dash is that the middle class are forced to do well because as we learned in the family topic that they have to pass on their wealth through the male line. So remember that video. If you don't, please feel free to go back to my previous videos and I've made a playlist to make this much more easier for you. Functionalist Talcott Parson. Parson argues that education is meritocratic. The simple definition of meritocratic is where effort plus ability is equal to achievement, and that is needed in order to increase social mobility, also known as social dash within society. I've given some clues there, so pause and have a think. What do you think the blank dashes may be? Let me reveal, the blank dashes will be social mobility and increased social position within society, so that obviously you can progress within your educational career, And Parson argues that there are two different standards. The first is a universalistic standard, in which when we go to school, everyone is judged by the meritocratic system, whilst the other one is particularistic standards. This is where we are at home, and when we are at home, our families do not judge us by our education, but the world outside, for example, in school, we are judged by our grades, and the system is meritocratic. So hopefully you can see the difference between universalistic and particularistic. These are key words, so make sure you include them within your answer if you are discussing about the key perspectives of functionalism. Also, we know that the system is meritocratic because Gilbert Noodle found out that Indian and Chinese are model minorities as they do above the national average. So you can have a look how much above they do above the national average on Google. If you have some interesting facts to share with me, please feel free to do that in the comment section. Karl Marx is a Marxist, and he argues that the system is not meritocratic. So as you can see, this is a whole big criticism of Talcott Parsons' view. So this criticism can be used that the system is not meritocratic. How do you think in school the system is not meritocratic? Why don't you have a think? I've left a clue there, and you can try continuing. Okay, let me reveal. The system is not meritocratic because within the school system, setting, streaming, differentiation, polarization, marketization exists. And we'll be all looking at these concepts in my later videos, so stay tuned on them. However, this can be criticized, obviously, by the functionist perspective, criticized by EMA, which is Educational Maintenance Allowance, and Sure Starts and compensatory education. So we'll be looking at these in more detail in my later videos again, so stay tuned on them. Pierre Bourdieu. Pierre Bourdieu is a Marxist. Marxist Pierre Bourdieu argues that there is cultural and economic capital. Do you know what this means? Pause and have a think. Where do you think we get this cultural capital? Have a think. Let me reveal. We get our cultural capital from things such as theatre, library, museums, music, and knowing a wide range of things which we do not experience within our everyday school life. This helps us to learn more and know more about the wider world, as opposed to the small nutshell within school. So this is cultural capital. Economic capital, whereas, is about money and financial stability. For example, the middle class have more economic capital, so they have more money in comparison to the working class. So, middle class parents, as per this theory, are able to play the system by moving catchment area. For example, when you applied for secondary school, then you would have got the school based on which school was near to your catchment area. So this was how it actually works. But however, the middle class played the system. So what they did was that they bought houses near the top schools, and because of their economic capital, and when they did this, their child was able to go based on the catchment area to the better school. However, as you can see, that the working class are unable to do as such because their parents, A, do not have a sense of cultural capital that they can do this, nor do they have a sense of economic capital. And this again could show that the system is really not meritocratic overall. Stephen Bull argues this theory. It's supported by Garbutt's study as well, which I'll be looking at in my later videos, so stay tuned on them. Moving on to Althusser's Marxist theory. He argues the ideological state apparatus. What do you think an ideology is? Pause and have a think. Let me reveal our ideology. Let's break the word up. Is simply what we believe in, okay? So what our views are or opinions on something. So we get our ideologies from various different places. One example is the media, family, friends, and various other mediums which we get our ideologies for, and those help us to build who we actually are. So the ruling class, who own means of production like the media, they are able to dominate everything. They are able to reinforce that they are the ruling class and we are the working class. So it reinforces this sort of hegemonic beliefs. So this reproduces class inequality. So the poor will become poor and the rich will become rich. So as a result, while we go to education, it reinforces that when we go to education and when we get the jobs, we are working, the working class are working for the ruling class because they own everything and they are quite dominant within the system. This is a strength and can be positively criticized, arguing that yes, this is the thing because large scale of low skilled labor is needed, part of the Fordynism process. Hence, this is a purpose of education. Bowles and Gints, again, are Marxists, and they argue about the correspondence principle. This idea is that school mirrors work. For example, if you are not on time to school, there will be sanctions. In the same way, if you are not on time on work, there will be sanctions. You might even lose your job if worst comes worst. And there's another belief about the hidden curriculum, that everything we learn in school is actually what is in the workplace and it mirrors work. So everything we are taught within the national curriculum is not really the national curriculum, but rather is things that prepares us for the working class, prepares us to be these passive individuals within the ruling class world when we go out to work. Postmodernists criticize this harshly. And they argue that, okay, you say that everything in school mirrors what it is in work. But why is it that at school we are rewarded by grades A star, B, C, 9, 1, 3, but at work we are rewarded differently? What do you think at work, how we are rewarded? Pause and have a think. Let me reveal, at work we are rewarded by pay. Hence, you can see that this postmodernist criticism is extremely valid when looking at this argument. So try to include that whenever you write a perk on this. Chubb and Moe take a new right perspective. They argue that the Marxization process exists. Marxization, simple definition, remember it, is where schools compete in order to increase their standards and efficiency, and they show that they have increased their standards and efficiency through various different ways. One of which is Ofsted, and the other which is league tables. Your parents must know about these because when choosing schools, then they looked at the Ofsted and league tables, where the school was, how much they've achieved, and all of these things before they put you within the school that you are currently in. So it's believed that the working class are given the same opportunities as the ruling class because of the catchment area. However, as we know, this is wrong because we looked on at the previous slides how the middle class are able to play the system by moving catchment area because they have a high amount of cultural as well as dash capital. Do you remember what the dash is? I hope you do. It is economic capital. Feminist perspectives. Feminists argue that patriarchy exists within education, for example, gender subject choices, verbal abuse, and patriarchy is simply male dominance. Don't get hung by it, it's simply male dominance. Whenever you want to write male dominance, write patriarchy because that's the key word and you will get a mark for that. And I'll be looking at more and building on this concept on my later videos, especially during the gender topic. I'll be putting in a playlist so it'll be easier for you to navigate this through. However, obviously this is criticized because it does not look at how women worked during the war, and when they worked during the war, they became much more financially stable as opposed to men at that particular time period when the men went off to war. And feminists, one thing is really bad about them, that they just look at the female perspective. Boys, they do not look at other social groups. And they're just not looked at and they seem to be very neglected. What do you think I mean by social groups? Why don't you have a think? Okay, let me reveal. Other social groups are like other classes, other ethnicities. So even in an exam, when you see social groups, it's simply it's simply age, class, gender, a few things that come within the bracket of social groups. So remember that, it's a key term too. What we have learned, hopefully you are able to identify the key perspectives of education, include the Functionalist, New Right, Feminists, and Marxist perspective. Next video, I'll be looking at material deprivation, cultural deprivation, and labelling. Till then, remember to revise, rest, test, and repeat the contents in this video for education, the content in my all other previous videos, family and household, and all other videos, because that's the only way and that's the simple secret if you've revised, rested, tested, and repeated to get an A star within your A-level exam. And do not forget to love Canva because I got these templates off Canva, made them in Canva, and downloaded them into a Microsoft Google slide format. And please do not forget to like,